Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a seriously wild psychological story. We're tracing a firsthand account that starts in this incredibly dark place of trauma and mental manipulation, and then, out of nowhere, takes this completely surreal left turn into a plot to escape to a brand new galaxy. It's literally a journey from rock bottom all the way to the outer limits of the cosmos, and it ends with a profound realization about the human mind. So let's just jump right in. To really understand this, we've got to start at the dark beginning. The source material outlines how the narrator was targeted by a group of 7 intensely negative people, and their directive was chilling. They were essentially hired to, quote, unlock his psychological secrets and break his mind powers. They had total free rein to just dismantle his psyche, fair or unfair. It's an incredibly heavy, almost paranoid way to kick things off.
Which brings us to Phase 1, the era of mental torture.
This chapter is really the foundation of his ruin, and it was so methodical. First, there was this training phase, basically observation by people from Mumbai, a Bengali associate, even analysts from abroad who'd just show up, watch, and leave. Once that phase hit quote-unquote perfection, the whole ordeal moved to Kolkata, and here he was totally alone. He talks about Kolkata as a place where he literally lost every single day. That nightmare culminated in 4 grueling years in what he calls jail. By the time he finally got home, he says his body and his face were just completely ruined.
But, here's where things get kind of strange. He mentions getting free medicine that magically helped him forget all that pain from Kolkata so he could start fresh. But as we all know, healing is rarely that simple, right? Right as he's starting to bounce back, a whole new group of antagonists shows up. He actually calls it Season 2 of his torment. New faces, but the exact same goal, to break his mind.
All right, moving into Phase 2, music and the American dream.
Okay, so this is where the story does a massive 180. We go from deep psychological trauma straight into global musical superstardom? Yeah. The defeated guy from Kolkata suddenly transforms into this new persona he calls Mr. Perfect. Even with those Season 2 villains lurking around, he somehow channels his emotions and becomes this legendary music composer. Get this, he claims he writes flawless hit songs, lyrics and all, in just 10 to 15 minutes. He says he's literally never taken longer than 15 minutes to wrap up a track. Talk about a comeback streak.
And this musical genius status, it completely unlocks the world for him. His 15-minute bangers catch the eye of the United States, he gets an official invite, is thanked profusely, and is even made chief guest at this massive festival. He's hailed as a #1 composer. And with all that wild validation, he decides, you know what? I'm leaving my home country. He wants to head to America, get lost in this vibrant, colorful new world, and just start over. But America is definitely not the final stop, not by a long shot.
So, let's get into Phase 3, NASA and the New Galaxy. This is the absolute climax of our explainer. It turns out the US was just a pit stop on his way to the stars. Check out this incredibly ambitious to-do list. Step 1, learn English to speak perfectly with Americans. Why? Well, because of Step 2, infiltrate NASA. And why NASA? Step 3, to steal a space rocket. He points out, totally deadpan, that if you want to go to space, obviously you need a NASA rocket. And then, Step 4, blast off, leave Earth in the dust, and escape to an entirely new galaxy. So what's actually waiting for him out there in this new galaxy? Well, he says he's heading to a very specific galaxy to live with a queen. And not just any queen. She's telepathic, she's constantly sending him messages, keeping him entertained, and making sure he never feels an ounce of loneliness again. In this new galaxy, he plans to just laugh, play, and live out his days in total happiness, leaving all that dark, heavy trauma light years behind him. It is this beautiful, wildly cosmic fantasy, right? But let's pause for a second and ask a very practical question. What is actually needed to go to space? Or, honestly, even just to fly to America? It's a question that brings our whole intergalactic heist to a screeching halt and snaps us right back to the boring old reality of international travel. Which brings us to Phase 4, Secret of Creativity and Energy. This is the exact moment where his surreal stream of consciousness epic crashes headfirst into the real world. So he's telling this friend about his grand master plan, moving to America, infiltrating NASA, flying off to a new galaxy. And his friend just goes, wow, great story. But hey, if you actually want to go to America with me, do one thing first, get a passport. It is such a hilarious, grounding reality check. I mean, you definitely can't steal a rocket to another galaxy if you don't even have the basic paperwork to cross the terrestrial border. And how long does that reality check take to process? 2 whole months. His friend casually mentions it'll take 2 months just to get the passport. Think about the insane contrast there. Our narrator supposedly whipping up flawless hip-hop songs in exactly 15 minutes, but the clunky, bureaucratic reality of planet Earth takes 2 whole months just to print a tiny little book.
Now, right at this moment in the source material, the narrator totally breaks the fourth wall. He reveals the actual meta lesson behind this entire wild ride. He says that suddenly he just felt anger, but he doesn't define anger as this destructive thing. He defines it as raw energy. And if you can focus that energy, if you can really center it, you can channel it into this unbelievably powerful creative force, a force strong enough to literally build an entire conceptual galaxy to escape into. So the torture, the rapid-fire music, the stolen rocket, it wasn't a literal series of events. It was a spontaneous explosion of creative energy, born completely out of focused anger. He realizes right then and there that he just took that anger and spun it into 8 brilliant minutes of an impromptu, compelling story. So he decides on the spot to take this 8-minute burst of energy, do a couple of minor edits, and just upload it directly to YouTube as a recording. The story we've been analyzing this whole time, it was the literal, real-time manifestation of his creative process.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. Look, we all deal with negativity, frustration, anger. We all have our own versions of those Season 2 tormentors. But this story shows us that you really don't have to stay stuck in that mental jail. You can use that exact same energy to launch yourself into something incredible. So, I'll leave you with this. How can you focus your negative energy today? Can you channel your own anger into building a completely new galaxy of creativity? Thanks so much for exploring this wild mindscape with me. Keep learning, keep focusing that energy, and I'll see you in the next explainer.